Hey guys, welcome back to World of Tanks. My name is Bruce and today it is time for a medium tank tutorial. Let's go. I already made tons of tutorials about every single tank class in the game. Feel free to check them out. You just have to search for World of Tanks with Bruce plus tutorial plus the respective tank class. In this video I want to talk about tanks like the Air-Raid Concept 1, a tank with a super precise gun but with no armor whatsoever, so basically glass cannon medium tanks. How do you need to play this kind of tank? So let us check this out with some gameplay. Alright, so here we are in the first battle with the KPZ EK1. And the first tip I have for you is you should always try to stay alive until the end of the game. As you cannot quickly build up damage like in an autoloader tank, you need to consistently make damage over time, i.e. the longer you can stay alive, the more damage you can build up. This is extremely important for such a tank which has no armor whatsoever and a cyclic gun. So rather start playing a bit defensively and only play aggressively if it makes completely sense and if you can allow this aggressive playstyle. Right, so I go to this position when I spawn in the west on this map because here I can fall back into cover. Now the second tip I have for you is you should always try to trade positively. You want to avoid taking damage at all times, and check out my video that I made about this, which is linked right here, and learn all the different techniques about trading positively. My third tip is, and that's what I'm doing right here, as you can see, I'm only exposing as little as possible of my tank. So only expose as little as possible of your tank, and if you can hide the majority of your tank, then the adversary players will have a hard time hitting you and your weak armor will not matter. And that's basically how you can overcome your drawback of having no armor whatsoever. So this is extremely important. Try to hide the majority of your tank at all times. And this of course works extremely nicely if for example, with a tank like the Hirschkäfer, when the turret is very shallow, or if the gun is basically at the top of the tank, so at the top of the turret of the tank, because then you only need to expose a very little portion of your tank, thus making it much more difficult for the adversary tanks to actually penetrate, to actually hit you. Because if they hit you, then of course they will penetrate you because you do not have any armor. Alright, so that's what we are trying to do here. We could already build up 1.9k damage, which is completely fine. And as I said, I want to conduct second line gameplay, so I let the Object 430U and then also this M60 do the hard work in the first line, and instead I want to be at the rear, at least at the second line, in order to not be the tank which is focused by all the adversary tanks. Now the fourth tip is you should try to surprise your opponents wherever it is possible, because this way you can get the first shot advantage, meaning that you can take a shot while your adversary tanks are surprised, i.e. the chance is increased that they will not return fire to your tank because you caught them by surprise. So I want to go to this position and maybe take a shot onto the Rheinmetall Panzerwagen once he approaches. And here you go. Can I take? No, he's taken out. So let's see how it goes. I might want to play a bit more aggressively. Okay, here's the Rheinmetall Panzerwagen. He is spotted right there, engaged in a fight with the T100 LT, and so I will be able to maybe take a shot onto him. I'm of course, yeah, he is engaged into a fight, i.e. he's not focusing us, so we can take a shot onto him. So my tip number 5 is you should exploit your mobility. If you are playing such a tank with no armor, this usually means that you have an above average mobility, so use it. And as you can see, I am basically driving to one flank, then if the job is done or if I see another opportunity, i.e. a tank that I can surprise, I use my mobility and flex as much as I can, flex the flank, so where I play as much as I can. And you should always try to use this mobility, try to flank, try to play multiple positions in a game, as opposed to a heavy tank in which you, for the majority, only fight at one particular position. Alright, and then, as I said, and this is basically tip number 6, try to learn second line gameplay. I made a video about this, which is linked right here. So instead of being the tank which is focused, you want to shoot out of the second line onto targets which got spotted by your first line teammates. So that's exactly what you want to do in such a tank. So you want to leave the hard work to the tanks which have more armor, and then you simply want to exploit the fact that the adversary tanks are engaged in a fight with your teammates which have better armor, so that you can simply take those adversary tanks under fire without needing to fear any returning fire. And that's exactly what I want to do right here. And we already made 3.9k damage, and we could certainly exploit the fantastic gun handling that we have on this tank. So can we get a bit more damage right here? So those tanks are once again engaged into the fight with some other tanks. So nice little high roll right here, excellent. And can we get another shot onto the T95? Let's see, into the rear, and excellent. So yeah, fantastic game, 4.8k damage, and I think a decent result in the KPZ EK1. Alright, second game. This time we spawn on Himmelsdorf, and this time we are in a top tier situation. So on Himmelsdorf I like to go to the hill because I think it gives me some of the best opportunities in the game, at least for this kind of tank. Now let's see what we get, and let's see how our team is playing this map. We get quite some support, which is nice. The good thing about a tank like the KPZ EK1 and comparable medium tanks is you have the mobility, so you can rush to a flank, and then if you manage to play defensively, i.e. if you go to a position out of which you can still retreat, then you can simply check out how the game is developing, you know, count the adversary tanks and then see whether you have an advantage on your side or not. And if not, then of course you should once again exploit your mobility and simply retreat. So can we take a shot? Nice first damage in this game. So tip number 7 is make use of the strength of your tank. If you have camo, for example, and view range, use it. Most of the time, as you do not have any armor, you do have other strength. So try to make as much support damage as possible. Try to track the opponents. Try to use your precise gun to make shots that other tanks cannot do. Try to use your mobility and try to use your spotting ability. Now, the KPZ EK1 is not the best spotter due to its lackluster camo value, but if you're, for example, playing a tank like the Leopard 1, you can perfectly use this tank for spotting as well and be kind of a light-medium hybrid. Alright, tip number 8 is only aim in when you have time to do so. Your better gun handling allows to sometimes not fully aim in your gun and rather preserve HP to make the shot successful, So what you see me do right here is I waggle around and I try to only expose as much of my tank as I need to in order to take damage onto the other tank. And look at this fantastic gun handling of the KPZ EK1. This gun handling is simply adorable. Okay, so will this tank move around, move out of cover? So far the game does not look too good, and here we once again did not have the time to fully aim in our gun, so that is not a problem if you have such a great gun handling. Now what I wanted to say is, and that was actually a hit, nice, if you waggle around like we're doing, as you can see, you give the adversary tank a hard time to actually hit your tank, so you should be on the move constantly, and this way you will preserve your HP, because once again you will give your adversary tank a hard time hitting you, and that's what you need to do, because you do not have any armor, which lets you consistently bounce shots. Of course, occasionally even such a tank can bounce a shot, as you just saw, but you can of course never ever count on your armor, because it is non-existent. But on the other hand, as I said, your above average gun handling gives you opportunities that you do not have in other tanks, like heavy tanks or like in most of the tank destroyers. So use it to your advantage, and always try to preserve your HP, because you need it at the end of the game, and we'll come to this later on in the game. So let's see, another shot, nice, and yeah, this gun handling is so nice and so sweet. So this is why I actually like those tanks, and it's my preferred tank class overall in World of Tanks. I rather have a tank which is mobile, which offers a precise gun and good gun handling, and which is fast, i.e. giving me the flexibility that I need in the game, and with all these tips and tricks I can overcome the deficiency to not having any armor. Alright, so I think we need to hurry up, because we're now on the winning side. Let's see whether we can take a shot out of this position right here. Here you go. And now once again, I want to do the same thing. Now I'm using the reload time of the AMX. However, the AMX has a much better DPM compared to myself. However, I do have the hit points remaining, because I saved them until this point in time, and so I can of course afford to take one shot from the AMX. So at the end, of course, this is changing, and you can then proceed with a more aggressive gameplay and simply trade in your HP. Alright, let's see whether we can make a bit more damage onto the last remaining tank. Yeah, okay, doesn't look like. So he's taken out, so let's jump into the next game. Alright, third and last game in the KPZ EK1. Now, of course, in this situation, we want to go on top of the hill. This is what you should always do, no matter if you're playing in a medium tank or in a heavy tank, only in some circumstances. So, for example, if I would play a tank without any gun depression whatsoever, would I go to the J lane or the K lane? However, in all other circumstances, I want to go to this position right here, because it is favorable and it's kind of the strategic position on this map. Alright, so yeah, I want to go to the middle, as there are multiple tanks of my team playing there, and they might be able to spot for me. As I told you earlier, you want to conduct second line gameplay, and my tip number 9 is you should work with the minimap and the view range circles. So maneuver yourself into a position so that you cannot get spotted when you take a shot. This way you manage to stay hidden as much as possible, and you don't risk taking a shot, which equals taking damage, as you do not have any armor. And as long as I put the adversary tanks between the white circle, which is my view range, and the yellow line, which is the maximum spotting distance, I can take as many shots as I want. They will not spot me. Now, of course, you have to be careful, because maybe there's another tank in between you and the tank you are shooting at. So if you then take a shot, of course you will get spotted, because this third tank is gonna spot you if you once again take a shot. But here it is not the case, and so I can get free damage onto the gorilla, and I will not get spotted, which is exactly what I want to do in such a tank. So let's take out the gorilla. Nice. And yeah, the gun is so lovely. It is, yeah, such a precise gun, and the gun handling just, you know, it just feels nicely. It just feels nice. Okay, so can we take a shot right here? No. In my opinion, the KPZ EK1 is one of the best premium tanks, at least on tier 9. But I'll come to this in one of the next videos for sure. All right, so let's try to push out this light tank. We might be able to take a shot. Yeah, he has just taken a shot. So okay, I wanted to track him, but I did not aim precisely enough. But nice, he's now taken out. Excellent. All right, so let's wait until we're not spotted anymore. Okay, here is an FV. Can we take a shot onto him? No, not from this side. So let's first of all take a shot onto the the leopard. Okay, yeah, okay, we take actually 2 shots, which is not what I want to see. So let's fall back so that the object cannot take a shot onto us. You always have to play cautiously if you're playing a tank with no armor whatsoever. And what you do not want to do is you do not want to be exposed to multiple tanks at a time, because all of a sudden your game will end up in the garage if you do so. So let's take another shot onto this tank. He's taken out. Excellent. We already made 2.5k damage. And you know what? I think our team is on the winning side. So this brings me basically to tip number 10. Consciously trade in your HP if the time has come to do so. Just because you do not have any armor doesn't mean that you cannot trade in your HP. So do so if it is beneficial for your gameplay, i.e. to maximize your damage. And there's nothing more useless than having your HP or being full HP at the end of the game and bringing all your HP back to the garage. So consciously trade in your HP even if you do not have any armor. And this is what most players get wrong if they play such a lightly armored tank. They are of the opinion that they should not expose them to adversary tanks at all times. But in my opinion, this is a wrong gameplay, and if you've managed to preserve your HP successfully at the beginning of the game, then there's nothing wrong with consciously trading them in at the end of the game. This applies for every tank in World of Tanks, and you can make super aggressive gameplays even with such kind of tanks, in order to boost your statistic and in order to make more damage. All right, so let's apply the tips that we previously talked about. So I only want to expose as little of my tank as possible, i.e. making it tough for the adversary tanks to actually hit me. So they also do not focus me, which is great. Another shot, 3.7k damage, excellent. And now they might turn around, but I still have HP to trade. So now I want to consciously make more damage. Unfortunately, I do not pen this shot. And now, yeah, okay, I do not want to take damage, which is actually a mistake. But in the end, we win this game and we make 3.7k damage. So another fantastic result. Yeah, all right. So those are my 10 tips for playing a glass cannon medium tanks. And in my opinion, if you follow those tips, then you will become a better player and you will get better results in tanks like the Leopard PTA, the Leopard 1, and also the KPZ EK1. Alright guys, that was it for today with the tutorial about glass cannon medium tanks. Do you like this type of tank? Do you like your Leo 1, your Leopard PTA, or this RH Concept 1? Or do you prefer tanks with more armor like the M47 Iron Ani or the Object 430U? Just leave a comment in the comment section down below. And as always, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up or hype the video. You can hype the video multiple times, it really helps out with the YouTube algorithm. If you find this video extremely helpful, then feel free to support me via super thanks. This way you can make a one-time donation. You just have to click this button underneath the video. If you adore this channel and you want to consistently support me, then consider subscribing to my channel or become a member once again with the click of a button underneath the video. Thanks a lot, and I see you next time in another World of Tanks video.